You are driving home from work, the same route you have taken 1,000 times before. You pull into your driveway, turn off the engine, and suddenly realize something strange. You do not remember the last 15 minutes. You do not remember the turns. You do not remember the stop signs. You do not remember the traffic lights. Your body moved through space and time while your mind was somewhere else entirely. And yet, here you are, safe, home, without a scratch. This is not a glitch in your brain. This is your subconscious mind at work, and it controls far more of your life than you ever realized. Most of us walk through life believing we are in charge. We think we make decisions. We think we choose our words. We think we control our emotions. But what if I told you that by the time you become aware of a thought, your brain has already been working on it for half a second? What if the choices you believe you are making have already been set in motion before you even knew there was a choice to make? The subconscious mind is not some dusty corner of your brain where forgotten memories go to sleep. It is the engine room. It is the control center. It is running constantly, processing millions of pieces of information every single second. While your conscious mind handles maybe 40 out of millions, that means your awareness, the part of you that feels like you, is only seeing a tiny fraction of what your brain is actually doing. Think of it like this. Imagine you are the captain of a massive ship. You stand on the bridge, looking out at the ocean, making what feel like important decisions. Turn left, turn right, speed up, slow down. But below deck, there are thousands of crew members you have never met. They are managing the engines. They are pumping the water. They are keeping the lights on. They are making sure the ship does not sink. And they are doing all of this without ever asking for your permission or your input. You think you are steering the ship, but really, you are just along for the ride. This is what happens inside your head every moment of every day. Scientists estimate that the conscious mind processes about 40 to 50 bits of information per second. The subconscious? Somewhere around 11 million. Let that sink in. Your awareness, the voice in your head reading these words right now, is working with less than 1/1,000,000th of the information your brain is actually handling. The rest is happening in the dark, behind closed doors, without your knowledge or consent. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your immune system fights off thousands of threats every hour. Your body maintains its temperature, balances its chemistry, repairs its cells, all without you thinking about it, all without you even knowing it is happening. And this is just the biological side of things. Your subconscious learned to walk for you. It learned to talk for you. It learned to read these words without you having to sound out each letter like you did when you were a child. Every skill you have ever mastered started out as a conscious effort and then sank down into the basement of your mind where it now runs automatically. This is a gift. This is efficiency. This is how you can drive a car while having a conversation or cook dinner while thinking about tomorrow. But here is where things get complicated. Your subconscious does not just store skills. It stores beliefs. It stores fears. It stores patterns of behavior that you picked up before you were old enough to question them. And these patterns, these invisible scripts, are running in the background of your life right now, shaping your decisions, influencing your relationships, determining how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror. Consider a person who grew up in a home where love was conditional, where affection only came after achievement, where approval had to be earned. That child learns a lesson, a deep lesson, a lesson that does not require words. The lesson is simple. I am only worthy when I perform. I am only lovable when I succeed. And that lesson does not disappear when the child becomes an adult. It sinks down into the subconscious, where it continues to run like a program that was never updated. This is happening everywhere, in every family, in every culture, in every corner of the world. Children are downloading beliefs about themselves, about others, about how the world works, and they are doing it without any filters, without any critical thinking, without any ability to say, wait, that does not seem right. The subconscious mind of a child is like wet cement. Everything that touches it leaves an impression, and by the time we are 7 or 8 years old, most of that cement has hardened. Now that child is 40 years old. They have a good job. They have a family. They have everything they were supposed to want, but they cannot stop working. They cannot rest. They feel a constant pull toward the next goal, the next achievement, the next validation, and they do not understand why. They tell themselves they just have a strong work ethic. They tell themselves they are ambitious. But the truth is, a 5-year-old inside their mind is still trying to earn love, still running the same program, still following the same invisible script. This is the power of the subconscious. It does not care about logic. It does not care about what makes sense. It cares about survival. And when you are a child, survival means belonging. Survival means fitting in with your family, your tribe, your world. So whatever lessons you learned about how to belong, your subconscious locked them in place like sacred laws. And here is what makes this truly fascinating, and honestly, a little unsettling. You cannot see these programs. You cannot observe them directly. They are like water to a fish. They are the medium you swim in. They feel so normal, so natural, so obviously true that you never stop to question them. You think your anxiety is just who you are. You think your self-doubt is just realistic. You think your patterns in relationships are just bad luck. But what if none of that is true? What if all of it is just a script you learned before you could even spell your own name? There is a concept in psychology called cognitive dissonance. It describes the discomfort we feel when our beliefs do not match our actions. When we say we value health but keep eating junk food. When we say we want intimacy but keep pushing people away. When we say we deserve good things but keep sabotaging ourselves right before we get them. This is one of the most confusing experiences a person can have. You work hard toward a goal. You do everything right. And then, just as success is within reach, you do something that destroys it. You miss the important meeting. You pick a fight with your partner. You make a careless mistake that you would never normally make. And afterward, you stand in the wreckage of your own creation, wondering what happened. What happened is that your conscious mind wanted something that your subconscious mind was afraid of. Success, intimacy, visibility, abundance, whatever it was, some part of you associated it with danger. Maybe success in your family meant being resented by others. Maybe intimacy meant being vulnerable to pain. Maybe having money meant becoming someone you did not want to be. So your subconscious stepped in, quietly, invisibly, and removed the threat before it could materialize. Most people try to solve cognitive dissonance by changing their beliefs. They lower their standards. They adjust their expectations. They tell themselves they did not really want it anyway. And this works in a sense. The discomfort goes away, but nothing actually changes. The subconscious loves this. It loves when things stay the same. Because to the subconscious, sameness means safety. Even if the same is miserable. Even if the same is lonely. Even if the same is slowly destroying your life. At least it is familiar. At least you know what to expect. The subconscious would rather be right than be happy. This is why change is so hard. This is why New Year's resolutions fail by February. This is why you can read every self-help book on the shelf and still find yourself stuck in the same patterns. Because you are trying to use your conscious mind to override a system that is 1,000,000 times more powerful. You are trying to steer the ship from the bridge while the crew below deck keeps pulling in the other direction. This is why people can know exactly what they should do and still not do it. They can recite every piece of advice. They can understand the logic perfectly, but understanding is not the same as believing. And believing at the conscious level is not the same as believing at the subconscious level. Your subconscious does not care about logic. It cares about patterns. It cares about what has worked before, even if worked just means kept you alive. It is operating on a different definition of success than you are. The subconscious is also incredibly loyal to its existing beliefs. It will twist and distort incoming information to match what it already thinks is true. This is called confirmation bias at the conscious level, but it goes much deeper than that. At the subconscious level, your brain is literally filtering reality. It is deciding what you notice and what you ignore, what you remember and what you forget, what seems important and what fades into the background. All of it shaped by beliefs you did not consciously choose. So what do? How do you work with a part of yourself you cannot even see? The first step is simply noticing. Awareness, not judgment, not frustration, just observation. When you catch yourself doing something that does not make sense, instead of criticizing yourself, get curious. Ask why. Not in an accusatory way, but in a genuinely interested way, like a scientist studying a fascinating creature. Why did I just eat that when I was not hungry? Why did I snap at the person I love? Why did I say no to that opportunity before I even thought about it? These moments of friction, these gaps between who you want to be and how you actually behave, they are doorways. They are glimpses into the basement. They are showing you where the invisible scripts are running. And here is something beautiful. You do not have to fight the subconscious. You cannot win a fight against something that powerful anyway, but you can start to understand it. You can start to listen to it. You can start to recognize its patterns and slowly, gently, offer it new possibilities. Imagine a narrative illustration of this pattern. A woman who could never seem to save money. Every time she got ahead, something would happen. An unexpected expense, an impulsive purchase, a generous gift she could not afford. She thought she was just bad with money. She thought it was a character flaw. But when she started paying attention, she noticed something interesting. The spending always happened right after she felt good about her financial progress, right after she started to feel secure. Why would feeling secure trigger spending? It does not make logical sense, but when she explored her past, she remembered something. Growing up, her family went through a period of financial comfort, and then, suddenly, they lost everything. Her father lost his job. They lost their house. The security she had felt was ripped away without warning. Her 5-year-old self learned a lesson that day. Security is dangerous. Security is a lie. Do not get comfortable, because it will all disappear anyway. And so, decades later, her subconscious was protecting her from comfort. It was spending the money before the universe could take it away. It was keeping her in a familiar state of financial anxiety, because, to her subconscious, anxiety was safer than hope. This is not an unusual story. Versions of it play out in millions of lives, with different details, but the same underlying pattern. The child, who is shamed for being too loud, becomes an adult who cannot speak up in meetings. The child who was praised only for being helpful becomes an adult who cannot say no. The child who was abandoned becomes an adult who pushes people away before they can leave. The logic is inverted, but it makes perfect sense to the subconscious. It is trying to protect you from pain you felt long ago. Once she understood this, something shifted. Not overnight, not dramatically, but slowly. She could catch herself in the moment of impulse and say, "I see you. I know what you are doing. And I appreciate that you are trying to protect me. But we are not 5 years old anymore. We can handle security now. We can be okay." This is not about willpower. This is about compassion. This is about recognizing that every self-destructive pattern you have is actually an attempt at self-protection. It is your subconscious doing the best it can with the information it has. And most of that information is outdated. Most of it came from a time when you were small and the world was big and confusing and scary. Your subconscious is not your enemy. It is more like an overprotective parent who never got the memo that you grew up. It is still packing your lunch and checking for monsters under the bed, even though you are perfectly capable of taking care of yourself now. The work is not to defeat it. The work is to update it. Think of your subconscious mind like an incredibly sophisticated security system. It was installed when you were very young, programmed by your experiences, and it has been running ever since. The problem is not that the system is broken. The problem is that the threat landscape has changed. You are no longer a small child in a big, scary world. You have resources now. You have options. You have the ability to handle things that would have overwhelmed your younger self. But the security system does not know that. It is still watching for the same old threats, still responding with the same old protocols. Updating this system requires patience because it does not trust easily. It has been protecting you for your entire life. It has kept you safe in ways you will never fully understand. It is not going to hand over the controls just because your conscious mind read a book about personal development. It needs to be convinced. And the only way to convince it is through repeated experience. And this takes time. It takes patience. It takes a willingness to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Because the subconscious learns through experience, not through lectures. You cannot just tell it new information. You have to show it. Over and over again. You have to prove through your actions that the old rules no longer apply. Every time you pause before reacting and choose a different response, you are teaching your subconscious something new. Every time you tolerate a little bit of uncertainty without collapsing, you are expanding what it believes is possible. Every time you treat yourself with kindness after a mistake instead of harsh criticism, you are rewriting the old script. It is slow, it is subtle, but it is real. There is a reason why the ancient philosophers said, "Know thyself." They understood something that modern psychology is only beginning to confirm. The parts of you that you cannot see have more influence over your life than the parts you can. The examined life is not just a philosophical ideal, it is a practical necessity, because here is the truth. You will never be completely free of your subconscious programming. That is not the goal. The goal is awareness. The goal is to catch the patterns before they catch you. The goal is to create just a little bit of space between stimulus and response, so that in that space, you can make a choice that actually reflects who you want to be. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the concentration camps of World War II, wrote something profound about this. He said that between what happens to us and how we respond, there is a space. And in that space is our power, our freedom, our humanity. The subconscious wants to collapse that space. It wants to react instantly, automatically, without thought. Your job is to widen it, even if just a little. This is perhaps the most important skill any human being can develop: the ability to pause, to notice what is happening inside you before you act on it, to feel the pull of an old pattern and choose not to follow it. Most of us go through life in reactive mode, bouncing from stimulus to response without ever stopping to consider whether our response actually serves us. But every time you pause, something miraculous happens. You create distance from the pattern. You step outside of it, even for a moment. And in that moment, you are no longer the pattern. You are the observer of the pattern. You are the awareness behind the thought, not the thought itself. And from that place of observation, new choices become possible. This is what meditation traditions have been teaching for thousands of years. Not to empty the mind, but to watch it. Not to stop thoughts, but to stop being controlled by them. The subconscious will keep generating its patterns. It will keep sending up its fears and its impulses and its automatic reactions. That is its job. Your job is not to stop it. Your job is to see it happening and choose how to respond. This is not about perfection. You will still react. You will still fall into old patterns. You will still find yourself doing things you swore you would never do again. But each time you notice, you are strengthening something. You are building a muscle. You are training your brain to pause, even for a second, before the autopilot takes over. And in those seconds, in those tiny gaps of awareness, transformation happens. The subconscious is not the enemy of growth. It is the engine of it. All that processing power, all that stored experience, all that automatic efficiency, it can work for you just as easily as it has worked against you. But only if you befriend it. Only if you stop trying to force it into submission and start learning to dance with it. There is an old story about a farmer who had a wild horse. All the villagers tried to break the horse through force. They used whips and chains and intimidation, but the horse would not be tamed. Then a quiet man came along. He did not use force. He just sat near the horse every day. He brought it food. He spoke softly. He let the horse come to him in its own time. And eventually, it did. The horse that could not be broken was befriended instead. Your subconscious is that wild horse. It has power you cannot match. But it can become your greatest ally, not through control, through understanding, through patience, through the slow, gentle work of building trust with yourself. So the next time you do something that does not make sense, pause. Get curious. Instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" ask, "What is this trying to protect?" Instead of fighting the pattern, explore it. Instead of hating that part of yourself, listen to it. You might be surprised by what you hear. You might discover that the parts of you that seem broken are actually working exactly as they were designed to. They are just using old blueprints, and blueprints can be updated. You are not broken. You are not flawed. You are running on software that was installed when you were too young to choose. And now, with awareness, with compassion, with patience, you can start to write new code. Not to become someone different, but to become more fully yourself. The person you are is not separate from your subconscious. It is woven through you. It is part of you. The good and the difficult, the helpful and the harmful, the brilliant adaptations and the outdated defenses, all of it is you. And when you learn to work with it instead of against it, something remarkable happens. You stop feeling like a passenger in your own life. You stop being pulled by invisible strings. You start to feel, perhaps for the first time, like you are actually behind the wheel, not controlling everything, not managing every outcome, but present, aware, able to respond to life as it actually is, instead of reacting to ghosts from the past. This is the gift of understanding the subconscious mind, not power over yourself, but peace with yourself. Not the elimination of old patterns, but the freedom to notice them and choose something new. And that, more than any quick fix or simple answer, is what real change looks like. It is not dramatic. It is not instant. It is quiet. It is gradual. It is the slow accumulation of small moments of awareness that eventually reshape the landscape of your inner world. If this exploration of the hidden forces within your mind resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. Think about a moment in your own life when you acted on autopilot, when you did something you could not explain, and share it in the comments below. These moments are not flaws. They are invitations to look deeper. And if you want to continue diving into the depths of human psychology, the hidden patterns that shape our lives, and the pathways to genuine self-understanding, hit that subscribe button. There is so much more to explore. The basement of the mind is vast, and we have only just opened the door. Thank you for being here, for being curious, for being willing to look at the parts of yourself that most people would rather ignore. That takes courage, and it is the first step toward becoming who you are always meant to be.